Well, thank you, Carolyn. I am your sister, Barbara Steinhaus, and you, Carolyn Steinhaus, instruct in the area of nonviolent communication. My course at the University of Florida, Creativity and Health, Foundations of the Art in Medicine, talks about healing and how important it is to humanity to think about all the aspects of healing. And in one of the studies I was doing on heart disease and blood pressure, one of the authorities had said that we need to be aware of what we say and how we say it. That made me think in terms of that as a part of a healing process, that you're going to be involved with people and you need to think about what you say to them and how you say it. So I wondered if you would address nonviolent communication in relationship to how we speak to one another so that we don't hurt them, but instead try to help in their healing process.
Or hurt ourselves in our own attempt to heal. Yeah, how you express yourself is at the core of what we worry about in nonviolent communication, because we've found that you can start from the same place, and depending on how you express yourself, you and the person you're speaking to can wind up in very different places. Dr. Marshall Rosenberg, who is the collector of the ideas represented in nonviolent communication, we all think he added something also, but he would say that every time we open our mouth, we are only doing one of two things: saying please or saying thank you. It's just that the way many of us say please is tragically distorted. So, please pick up my stupid book winds up not being a very effective way of getting someone else to help you get the book picked up. So we look at every time we are thinking of talking to someone, and we try to pay attention to 4 dimensions of the communication.
Okay.
We start with what it's about. A second dimension is how we're feeling about that. What feelings are stimulated in us from noticing that in the world. You may think you're not communicating your feelings, but even if you don't say it in words, or communicate it sideways in a word like stupid, you will probably be communicating it by your tone of voice, by your facial expression, by your body language. There are a lot of ways to communicate feelings. So that's always a dimension of what we're doing. The third one is what I sometimes like to call the point. And Dr. Rosenberg would have a different word for that. He calls that dimension of it our needs. That we are full of needs that we are trying to get met 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
All right.
And depending on what our need state is, we will be expressing ourselves differently and having different feelings. So that if we are in fact eager to study from that book, we would be elated to see it. We've been looking for it. If we have been studying from that book, took a test and didn't do very well, seeing that book may simply bring us bad feelings, embarrassment, distress. Okay, so that's a very important thing to notice, that there is something inner that we carry with us that will alter how we feel about things, and thus how we are inclined to communicate.
All right.
Now, by the time you get those 3 things down, something's happened and you want to talk to someone about it. because you're feeling some way and it affects your need state, it affects your energy. At that point, you want something or you wouldn't be speaking. That's why he would call this a please.
Okay.
And what is it that you want from the other person? It's helpful if you actually articulate it. The number of times we find in nonviolent communication that the person is hiding what they want in the background and simply hoping for it is tragically sad. So what is it you want from me? Have I heard you enough? Well, no. Well, what is it you want? Well, actually, I want you to ask me out to dinner. Well, and we find that most people can't say things like that. But in nonviolent communication, it becomes easy. You can say things like, I'm so glad to run into you. I've seen you around church. I'm very interested by the kinds of things that you say, and I'm really wishing I could spend more time with you. I'm wondering if you'd be willing to have dinner with me sometime. Now, see? That wasn't so hard. Okay, so that is what we pay attention to. But we find that there is a lot of inner development that is needed. Mm-hmm. So it has a spiritual dimension to it as well. If you stop and think about please and thank you tends to be easy. It's pretty easy to learn to say thank you in a way that lets the person know what they did that made your life more wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Please has got a little of that inner working. The minute you say please, even please pick up the stupid book, you are acknowledging that the other person's in the driver's seat with regard to what happens. And we turn out to have to learn that it's okay, that we're all vulnerable to each other that way. I would be among those that believe that you can't make anyone do anything.
Okay.
Dr. Rosenberg would follow that with, you can only make them wish they had. Well, and in fact, you can also arrange consequences around people to suggest that they will wish they had.
Okay.
So people have ways of trying to force each other.
Sort of manipulate.
So qualities of words there: force, manipulate, poke, push. Mm-hmm. But when you stop and think about it, that form of saying please is much less likely to get you a positive response.
Mm-hmm. And
if you whine to get the person to pick up the book, what are the chances they're going to throw it in your stomach when they give it to you? Good.
Yeah.
So,
well, if you could restate the 4 elements again of saying please.
What it's about.
What is your request about? Yeah.
Yeah, and we like that clean. I see my book on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Your feeling. I don't even want to touch it. I'm so sad about my physics test.
Okay.
Your need. I'm going to have to study some more. I really would like to be competent. Your request. Would you do me the favor of picking it up? You're closer to it than I am.
All right, good. Well, thank you so much. I think that gives an idea for the kinds of things that are involved with thinking more deeply and more thoroughly about how it is we communicate with one another. And certainly it seems like if you do that, you're going to elicit a response from someone that's going to feel like, oh gosh, you talked to me in a really nice way. I guess I can respond in a nice way.
Yep. The trick is to figure out what to do when the feelings that go with it are filling you up and taking over your mouth.
In a good way.
Well, yes.
Or a bad way, huh?
Well, they say this. Here is the reason to study nonviolent communication. We don't rise to the level of our training. We fall to the level of our training.
Okay.
So that once you have trained yourself, even when you're upset, you will be able to choose words that don't make things worse.
Oh, wonderful. Well, Carolyn Steinhaus, again, thank you so much for helping us talk about these issues in nonviolent communication.
Good. If you want to learn, give me a call.
Wonderful.
That was better.